Peak performance coach for high impact leaders, AJ Madden here. Today we will cover principle number 18, Splatter Factor, from our 1% Warrior Black Belt Boss, 24 Principles of Self-Protection and Leadership. You can pick up a copy of Black Belt Boss on Amazon and my website, coachajmadden.com. Let's talk about Splatter Factor. We'll start with self-protection and how it applies to that. Here's a quote from Sal Mascoli. He's a retired U.S. Marine and law enforcement officer and self-protection expert. And Sal says, techniques fail. Focus on principles and keep going. Fights are messy. And there's no guaranteed techniques that will work 100% of the time. It doesn't matter how long you've trained, how many hours you've trained. A self-defense situation is a messy situation. There's just too many variables. There's the possibility of weapons. There's a possibility of multiple attackers. There's different terrains that you can slip on or trip on. There's just too many factors. There's no guarantees in any of it. People want to guarantee a go-to technique. It just doesn't exist. It's just too messy. So what do we do? What do we do? Now, I'm not saying that training is useless, because obviously even a little training is better than nothing, but it's not a guarantee. Our training, our strength and conditioning training, our technique training, whether it's boxing, jiu-jitsu, combatives movements, all this increases our chances of surviving a violent attack, surviving it if we have no other choice but to defend ourselves. But there's no guarantees in it. So what do we want to think about? We want to think about principles that give us a better chance overall. If we understand principles, that increases our chances of survival also. So we have our techniques, specific physical techniques, and we also have principles, ways to think about defending ourselves. One principle that we've talked about many times is awareness and avoidance. Don't be there in the first place. Another principle is attitude, and how attitude affects us becoming a hard target, creates us being a hard target. So let's talk about 5 principles that can save your life. And this is from Black Belt Boss. And what we do in these videos is I give you a few key points from the chapter, then I expand on it beyond what is in the book. So the 5 principles that can save your life. Principle 1, be first. Be first. If you have no other option but to fight, and you can't get away, you can't de-escalate, attack. Go first. Another principle is go animal. Go animal. Bring out that animal aggression, that animal intensity. Third principle is hard weapons against soft targets. That is, a hard weapon would be my palm or my knuckles against a soft target, which might be the throat, the jawline, the back of the head, the solar plexus. These are all soft targets, potentially. Don't step back psychology. We talked about that previously in one of our principles. Don't take a step back. Once you have to fight and you have no other choice, you must go forward. Do everything you can to go forward, attack mode. And our fifth principle that can save your life here is don't stop. Don't stop attacking until you're dead. Not necessarily until your opponent's dead, until you're dead. That means you fight until you have no breath or life left in your body. So those are 5 principles, and these give us a better framework to think about how we would defend ourselves. So if we just took someone who had no training and only had an hour to train with them, to train them for a fight that was about to happen in the parking lot an hour later, we would teach them principles, because they wouldn't learn a perfect jab or a perfect double leg takedown or a perfect rear naked choke in an hour. But what we can teach them is some principles that they could apply, such as awareness and avoidance. Don't stop. Keep going forward. Things like that. Hard weapons against soft targets. We can teach them some principles to understand and apply if they have to fight to save their life or someone else's. Let's talk about Splatter Factor and its leadership application. It's better to be in motion ignorantly than static intelligently. Ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And this is a quote from Sean Smith. Ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. So how does this apply to leadership, this principle? Done is better than perfect. Progress over perfection. Action over perfection. Once you have 80% of the information, just make a decision and go. These are all because there's just too many variables to consider in leadership and business. There's too many variables. We must simply move, stay in motion, just do something. Inaction leads to nothing. Oftentimes you see paralysis by analysis, where we're continuously looking at data and information and talking ourselves out of doing something or considering activity for accomplishment, planning and things like that. It's you just have to do it and then adjust, because your plan is not going to survive first contact with the enemy. That's a military quote. So just doing it and testing and seeing what happens is better than planning and considering and looking at facts and data. Sometimes you just have to do it and see what happens and then make that adjustment. That's a real secret, that test and experiment mindset, that just do something. Here's a quote from Tim Grover. He's a peak performance expert. He was a strength and conditioning coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And this is from his brilliant book, Relentless. And this is about trusting yourself. Can you be reasonably successful by just following directions and staying within the lines? Sure. That's what most people do. But if we're talking about being elite, if you want to be unstoppable, then you have to learn to put aside everything you've been taught, all the restrictions, all the limitations, the negativity and the doubt. If that sounds complicated and confusing, let me make it simple. You have to stop thinking. It's so basic. Are you good at what you do? Maybe even great at what you do? Can you be the best? Yes? If you said no, I'll give you a moment to change your answer. Again, can you be the best? Of course you can. Then why are you still questioning your ability to do it? Quick answer. Because at some point you made something simple into something complicated and you stopped trusting yourself. In summary, stay in motion, keep moving, stop thinking. Progress over perfection, action over perfection. All right, these are some key principles and mindsets towards our splatter factor. Just do it, keep it simple, stay in motion, keep moving. All right, fights are messy, leadership is messy. We just have to follow a few simple principles and stay in motion. If you found this video useful, please hit that like button and please subscribe. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone else you believe will find it helpful. 1% Warrior Black Belt Boss, available on Amazon, on my website, coachajmadden.com. Please pick yourself up a copy or a copy for someone you think would find this useful. If you would like to improve your leadership and your ability to protect yourself and those that you care about the most. Wish everyone success and happiness, and I challenge you to think about that splatter factor and just do it, stay in motion, and keep moving.